All right. So we're going to begin. Thank you.
Great.
Ward 2 Democrats, very nice to be here. Walter and I and Janice is going to join us shortly. I'm really excited to be here with Brooke Pinto, our Ward 2 council member. So thank you very much for being here, Councilwoman.
It's such a pleasure to be with you all, and thank you so much, Ward 2 Democrats, for doing these conversations. What a great idea.
Yeah, so my name is Ben Daly. I'm the communications chair for the Ward 2 Democrats. We've been hosting these candid conversation interviews with candidates to allow them time to speak to Ward 2 voters directly and tell them about the issues and tell them why they should earn your vote. Before I get started, I'm going to introduce my colleague Walter.
I'm Walter Springman. I am a Ward 2 Democrat board member as well as a resident. And thank you very much, Councilwoman, for being here.
Councilwoman, thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, you're actually the person who needs no introduction, but regardless, can you please introduce yourself to all of the constituents you've been serving for the last number of years and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, Ward 2 Democrats. Great to see you all. Thanks for tuning in. I am Brooke Pinto. I am your Ward 2 council member, where I've been serving on the DC Council for the last 6 years. I live in Logan Circle and in 2F. I am a lawyer by background. That's initially what brought me to Washington, D.C., was to attend law school at Georgetown Law, and just absolutely fell in love with the city. I worked on the Hill in the Senate as a health and aging fellow for Senator Richard Blumenthal. Worked for a number of local organizations, from the Washington Legal Clinic for the Homeless to the Landlord Tenant Court. Then I went to work for the DC Attorney General's office for Carl Racine, who's our first elected Attorney General, as a tax litigator, and then later as his Assistant Attorney General for Policy and Legislative Affairs. I love Ward 2. I love our city, and I have been so privileged to serve as our Ward 2 council member for the last 6 years and as the chair of the council's Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety.
So we're obviously excited for your next chapter and to support you any way we can as your neighbors and as a Ward 2 Democrat. But we're also going to be sad to see you go. But with that being said, you've done a lot for the city over the last 6 years. Can you tell us more about why your background, why your experience, why what you've done as Ward 2 council member makes you the perfect person to be our next congressional representative?
So, being in the local government, and really ideally in any government, the core of what you're doing is helping people, excuse me, is helping people solve their problems. And that's what I've done as the Ward 2 council member for the last 6 years, whether it was in public safety, putting together the largest piece of legislation in our history to drive down violent crime, or creating new literacy investments so that we're training all of our teachers on how to teach reading to improve our literacy outcomes in our schools, or helping ensure that all of our small businesses can thrive, which are so important to our economy and to our jobs and to the backbone of our city. I love that work. I love working on behalf of our residents and making sure that I am a great partner in helping people and our local businesses solve their problems. And in this moment, we are in a very unique state of affairs with a president, with many in Congress who are coming after the city in a lot of different ways, whether that was Trump's attempts to federalize our police department, or the 30 bills that Congress is considering right now that undermine our autonomy and our safety and our economy. And it's really important that we send someone to the Hill, like me, who can both effectively push back against those attempts and also more effectively play offense in leveraging more resources that we actually need from the federal government so we can invest it in our needs and our families. And I know that my experience and my record will best enable me to fulfill that vision for all of us.
Thank you. Hello, Councilmember Pinto. I'm Janice Farabee, native New Yorker, been here for 35 years. I'm a former ANC for Single Member District 2 FO8 and also former Ward 2 committee woman. I am currently the treasurer of the Ward 2 Democrats and excited to talk with you today.
Thank you. Great to see you.
So our first question, I know that this is as our delegate, what strategies would you pursue to improve public safety and community well-being in Ward 2, including downtown, Logan Circle, and DuPont Circle?
So I believe that there is no greater responsibility as a government than to provide for the safety and well-being of our residents. That's what I've worked on my whole career, whether it was as a lawyer at the Attorney General's office or chairing the council's public safety committee. There are a number of things that I will be very focused on when it comes to public safety as our next congressional delegate. First and foremost, we need to protect our city's autonomy. We should not have armed National Guard troops coming in from other states to police our streets. We should not have masked ICE agents roaming our communities without any accountability or safety or fairness. And so it's really important that we get that right at the federal level to provide that oversight and pushback that we need and that we deserve in the district. I also hope to serve on the House's Judiciary Committee. And there are a number of things that I want to do to proactively support our public safety work in the district to make sure that we fill the 22% vacancies in our local courts with qualified, vetted judges that have gone through our local judicial nomination commission. I want to make sure we're fully funding our pretrial services agencies and all of our criminal justice coordinating council agencies that rely on increased federal funding to have improved data management so that we can keep everybody safe. I want to ensure we have more regional consistency with our gun control laws because we have so many illegal firearms flowing into the District of Columbia from Maryland and Virginia, many of which are ghost guns. And we need our regional partners to be stronger to get these illegal guns off our streets and not flowing into our communities in the first place, and secure additional federal resources for our violence interruption programs and for our policing needs. I think this is really important. Our local police department officers are spending so many of their resources and hours and personnel on covering events that are happening because we are the nation's capital. First Amendment events, America's 250th this summer, all of those events really should be paid for by the federal government, and we should not be picking up the bill as a local government for those needs. And so those are some of the things that I will be championing for funding and for supports so that our city can fulfill what our obligation should be to make sure that every resident and every visitor is safe here.
Thank you. Our second question is about small business and economic vitality. Ward 2 has seen an increase in commercial vacancies in recent years. What policies would you pursue to strengthen small businesses, activate vacant storefronts, and support a vibrant local economy?
Well, this is so important to me as the Ward 2 council member. As you all know, Ward 2 is home to over 55% of all the businesses in the city, and 65% of everybody who works in the city works out of Ward 2. And so having a strong economy and supporting our small business community should be vitally important to all Washingtonians. And I've done a lot of work in this space on the council, whether that was my bill, the BEST Act, to revitalize our small business licensing process, to make it easier and more cost-effective to get into business, waived from taxation our smallest businesses, got rid of a lot of the cumbersome endorsement processes, moved from 111 business categories to just 10. And I've done a lot of work to support our retail across the ward and across the city. In Congress, one of the things I hope to do is build enterprise and opportunity zones across the district, which would empower our businesses to secure federal tax benefits for being located in the District of Columbia, which would be a huge financial benefit to our businesses that are here and who are interested in locating here. And is something that I've already been meeting with members on the Hill around and think would be one of the most effective ways for us to secure more federal resources so that we can be a great partner with our local government and continuing the work around incentives and supporting our main streets and business improvement districts to continue supporting our wonderful small business community.
Great. Well, thank you for that response. Question number 3, transportation and mobility. What transportation and mobility policies would you prioritize to ensure Ward 2 is safe, accessible, and efficient for pedestrians, cyclists, transit riders, and drivers?
Well, this is another area that we can and need to secure bipartisan support for major transportation and infrastructure funding from the federal government so that we can more adequately address the sidewalk repairs, many of which have been waiting years to be addressed, to make sure that there is level and curbless locations for wheelchair access and for strollers. To access all of our sidewalks. And that's one of the ways that this role can be most effective is in securing funding from the federal government and ensuring the federal government doesn't get involved with local issues like traffic cameras or our 15th Street bike lane that is so vitally important for so many of us to get around the city that the president is trying to get rid of. And so, again, I go back to this defense offense mentality that sometimes we need to play offense and secure the benefits from the federal government to use for our community's purposes. And then other times we have to play defense and say, this is not an appropriate intervention in our affairs. And this really needs to be maintained as a local issue. And that's what we're doing now with the 15th Street bike lane issue and what we see over and over again from this administration.
Great, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Walter to do our next two questions.
Hello, Councilwoman. Again, I'm Walter. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you today. Thank you very much for allowing me to ask you a couple questions. My first one's on public spaces and quality of life. I'm curious of what steps that you may be able to take to ensure that Ward 2's public spaces, such as libraries, parks, community facilities, remain to be well-maintained, welcoming, and actively used by residents and visitors.
So 90% of all district residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park. And so this is one of our most incredible assets, but we cannot take it for granted. And we need to make sure that our parks and our public spaces, indoors and outdoors, are beautiful, are clean, and are safe. And so we've done a lot in this space. I mean, over the last year, as we've seen the National Guards who have been here from other states, I've said it is not a good use of resources. What would be a good use of resources is for the federal government's help in turning on fountains that have been broken and in disrepair for far too long. And we're starting to see a lot of that work come to fruition. We got the funding secured several months ago, and now a lot of our fountains are being turned on from Malcolm X Park to the fountain was just turned on at Union Station, and we're going to continue seeing that across the district. And that's one of those examples of ensuring that we are leveraging support and resources from the federal government for things that are great for our city. One of the things that I'm really eager to do is to transfer some of our National Park Service land to the district control with additional funding so that we can use our parks for our families, for our needs and our purposes, and make sure that the grass is maintained, that it's properly watered, and that it stays in great repair. One of the other things I want to say about our library systems, which is one of the best in the world, is that we need to continue investing in our local libraries. Our libraries are incredible spaces for community, for safety, for people to gather. Even as we saw demand go down for some of our in-person library services from the pandemic, it has been very important to me to continue investing in our library services so that we can have those spaces available. One of my first bills that I introduced and moved was a bill to require menstrual products be provided for in all of our libraries and all of our schools and our jail under this theory. And I was meeting with young girls and women across the district who were telling me that they couldn't access these products because they were too cost prohibitive and it was keeping some girls away from school. And our libraries are just a place that everybody should feel safe to go. And I'm now proud that the District of Columbia led the nation in offering these products, just like we do with toilet paper and should do everywhere, for free at all of our libraries. And now other states across the nation are following suit.
Well, thank you for that. My last question for you is on housing stability and homelessness. What policies would you support to address homelessness in Ward 2 while ensuring residents have access to housing, supportive services, and safe communities?
So I believe that everybody has the right to live indoors in stable, safe, dignified housing. And I'm really proud of what we as a Ward 2 community have done to support our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness over the last several years. Ward 2 was where we created the Care Pilot program, which said at some of our largest encampments, which some of you will remember a couple of years ago, there were some encampments with as many as 75 people living in them. And we said, okay, for a period of 30 days, we're going to send case managers out every single day, build trust with communities, offer people permanent supportive housing vouchers, locations they can go. And then at the end of the 30 days, the park is going to be closed to camping. And when we tried to do that in locations without the full care pilot, we had about 11% of people who were engaged. After the care pilots, 84% of people were moved into stable housing. We then started a new model out of Ward 2 at the Aston, which is a former dorm. It was a GW dorm that we purchased and used as the district's first non-congregate shelter. It's a transitional bridge housing for people who are formerly homeless, who are ready to get stabilized, but they can live in a non-congregate setting. There's 24/7 case management, there's 3 meals a day, and it's been hugely successful to help people get stabilized. And last year, we funded a second location for that on New York Avenue. And in this year's budget, we're fighting to fund a third location for that, which, like most of our most pressing challenges in the district, there's not always a one-size-fits-all model for people, but especially with our homeless population, the biggest piece of concern that I've heard from people not wanting to come inside is around safety concerns with shelters and being in congregate settings. Having these options for non-congregate care is vitally important and something that I've been proud to champion and work on the council. As part of my housing plan that I've rolled out for this race is to bring that model nationwide and make sure that as we work to tackle our homelessness challenges in the district, we're also supporting residents across the country who need support and who need that sustainability. And we should use the models that we know work.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Walter. Before we go on, this is an area of strong interest for me as a social worker, having worked with the Downtown DC Bids Week and Homeless Services, and I'm now the outreach coordinator for my church, Metropolitan AME. We're proposing a housing for formerly homeless veterans. As a delegate, what do you see happening with mental health professionals that work in these spaces and places that need education, that need time off so that they're not burnt out, and that need to be credentialed so that the individuals are effective in the work that they're going to be doing? Because it is, as you know, it's not easy work.
Well, thank you so much for all the work that you do in this space and the leadership you continue to provide. It is so inspiring and so important. And I think you said it exactly right, that we have to make sure that we are supporting a pipeline of professionals who do this work. Some of that is in our licensing agreements that we can work on with the regional compact that is moving through the council. Some of that is through additional funding, again, that we can try to secure through the federal government. Some of that is through tax exemptions for housing. That's included in my Prosper DC plan, is to completely exempt from property taxes housing for disabled veterans. And we have to do more for our veteran population entirely across the district. We are the nation's capital. We should be leading the nation in the supports that we provide to our veterans, period. And this is something that I really hope to champion on the Hill and would love to work with you on. I do want to say, everybody, I'm so sorry because I would love to stay forever. I'm just running so late.
Let me ask you one more question, council member. And this is
Sure.
one that's I think really important for everybody who's focused on your position, which is when elected, how are you going to work to make DC get more rights on the federal level and eventually work towards us becoming a state?
So Washington, D.C. should absolutely be the 51st state, and we're going to do it together. And I have great confidence and optimism that we are going to succeed in our shared mission to do so for a couple of reasons. First, there is a hyper partisan way that Republicans have long talked about DC statehood, which has been, we're not going to give a Democratic city to members of the Senate. And I think we as Democrats need to be just as bold that, yes, absolutely, we're going to get two members of the Senate and they're going to be Democrats. And that's exactly why this should be the number one part of the Democratic Party platform nationwide. I just spoke to Ken Martin about this, the DNC chair. I just met with all of the chapters of the Young Democrats across America and their presidents to make sure that this is their number one party platform. And I'm hopefully going to be going with you all and others on the road to make sure that everybody across this country understands that it is an American interest to have full representative democracy in all of our jurisdictions across the country, especially in the nation's capital, just like every other civilized country across the world has. And I am so excited to be a part of and a champion in that work to continue the incredible legacy of Walter Fauntroy and Eleanor Holmes Norton, and so many others who have been leading this movement. But it's because of all of that hard work for decades and decades that we're going to be able to get over the finish line. I can't wait to do it alongside you.
Thank you so much. As we wrap up, councilmembers, anything else you want to say to your Ward 2 neighbors as you go into the June 16 election?
It has been such an absolute privilege to be your Ward 2 council member. I hope to have your vote in this race. Election day is June 16th, but as you know, you can vote by mail. You could vote in person early starting June 8th, or you can vote on election day on June 16th. And I love this city. I love this work. I know that this has been a really scary and alarming year for so many across the ward and across the district. I want to continue doing what I've done my whole career, which is serve our residents and help solve problems and help protect our city, its residents, and our autonomy. And I would never be working to leave my role as the Ward 2 council member and to go for this position if I wasn't so confident that this is how I can most effectively serve our city right now and most effectively yield the best results for our city. And so I hope to have your support, and I can't wait to see you in the neighborhood.
Thank
Great.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much for your time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Great to see you all.
Good to
You
see
as
you. All
well.
the best.